Hello,
Hello, welcome, sir.
can you see me?
Not yet, sir.
Where do I click for the? Okay.
Yes, sir, it's visible now.
So audio is clear, everything is clear.
Yes, sir. Everything is clear, sir.
Are you sitting behind a fan?
No, sir. I'm sitting in the office in the conference room.
Okay, because you put some wallpaper or something, that's why.
Yes, sir. Just a minute. Is it clear now, sir?
Yeah, now I think we are set.
Yes, sir. Just waiting for our speakers. Just a minute. Yes, sir. They are about to join now.
Yeah, already I see 8 people have joined.
Yes, sir.
Good, good. And they can hear us?
Yes, sir. They can hear you. Even we are
Good.
live now.
Okay.
Good afternoon.
Hi, Himanshu, good afternoon.
Very good afternoon. How are you? All good?
Good, good.
Monday meeting is finalized?
I'll have to confirm it tomorrow because today is the first working day, no?
Mm-hmm.
Yesterday was a holiday here.
Okay, okay, fine. So accordingly, I need to advise
Yeah,
Gurmeet
Chairman.
to for book his ticket and everything. Anish, please check. Maybe speaker might have joined as a attendee. Dipendra ji?
Yes.
Yeah, hi.
Yeah,
Hello.
I think you joined as a attendee.
I haven't joined as a no. I put in the login ID of a panelist.
Maybe, but I think
Yeah, he's shown as a panelist. We can see him
no,
as
no.
a
I have
panelist.
made him as a panelist actually.
Okay.
Anish, please check the other speaker also.
Yes,
Should not be an attendee.
I've already spoke to him. He'll be joining in next 5 minutes.
Yeah, fine. But maybe sometime they might join as attendees. So please
Sure,
look into that. Okay.
I'll
Yeah.
take it.
So how are you, Dipendra ji? Thank you for joining us today.
All well, actually. I got some big fever yesterday and coughing, so I was not sure. But today it's been better, so that's why I'm able to
Thank God.
join in. But might have some coughing breaks.
Thank you so much for joining us, even after bad health also. Thanks. So I think,
It's the
sir, I think
benefit
we
of
can.
online.
Yeah, absolutely. Take care of your health. I think Delhi weather is like that only.
Yeah, the super cold phase has got extended.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think Sajjad has also joined. Hi, good afternoon, Sajjad.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yeah, absolutely.
Great. Thank you.
Great. Thank you for joining us. I think, so I think it's already 3, so I think we can start the session. Uh, Brother, sir, so can we start the session with the permission?
Yeah.
Anish?
So, Anish.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, please take it forward, sir.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our Day 2 webinar of Harit Prem Bharat Mahotsav 2024. My name is Anish. I'm from IGBC, and I would like to take it forward to introduce our moderator for today, Mr. Bharat Kamath, Chairman IGBC Goa Chapter. Mr. Bharat Kamath, a distinguished chartered engineer and an influential member of the Institution of Engineers, and he's a sustainability champion. Beyond his versatile engineering skill set, Mr. Bharat Kamath made a history by becoming the first notary engineer in Goa in September 2022. At Kamath Infratech, he serves as a partner, and Mr. Bharat leads comprehensive consultancy services for a variety of construction projects spanning industrial, commercial, and housing domain. Sir, welcome, and over to you, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. We're delighted to have you here today, and let's make this a great, engaging session together. A special welcome to our guest speaker, Architect Dipendra Prasad, Principal Architect DPAP, and Mr. Sajjad Ahmad, Global Head Learning, Insights and Data from Capgemini. Thank you for joining us, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. We have had a fantastic start yesterday of the Harit Prem Bharat Mahotsav, and some of the highlights of the inaugural day are decarbonizing. In day one, theme was decarbonizing India and architect's perspective. Here we came across by understanding localized efficiencies in construction and an India-centric renewable integration, and also indigenous carbon solutions in the built environment. We in IGBC support climate responsive design that adapt to India's diverse climates. We prioritize and emphasize local materials and techniques to reduce carbon emissions. Today on day 2, we will be focusing on adoption of emerging technologies to decarbonize large infrastructure. The key focus area of today's topic will be talking about decarbonization potential in super ECBC compliant buildings and effective ways to bring awareness on climate change through significance of decarbonizing the built environment within the broader framework of sustainability and climate action. On this note, I would like to invite our speakers for today, Architect Dipendra Prasad, who is a director in INT BAU India. He did his post-graduation in urban planning from Netherlands and MTech in energy management from IIT Delhi. He has been involved with the largest and holistic net zero office building design in the country in Delhi and the first super ECBC energy conservation building code compliant building in the country built at Panchakula. Mr. Dipendra Prasad, IGBC welcomes you and requests you to start the session.
Thank you, sir. Let's get the presentation on. Can you see my screen, please?
Yes, sir. It's visible.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much for this invitation and for this opportunity to share some of these concepts which we've been working on for many, many years now. It's so heartening to see that the overall sustainability movement has really gained ground all over. And here I will try and put down some thoughts and comparisons for some special buildings in our portfolio, which we have been working on. Now, this particular building project, this is recently completed. This is for the Uttar Haryana Bijli Vitran Nigam and their head office building, which is a Super EC, it's the first Super ECBC building in the country. And it has various features, which I'll be talking about. Now, I mean, what I did want to say also was that India is a land of two opposites. On one side are humongous developments, which are suffering from carbon emissions, pollution, and so on, like the NCR, which we all know about. And then on the other side, we have these marquee buildings. Surely, I think to make an overall difference, I think what must be said is that we must make these buildings not special but common. They must become a major part of the built environment, and we have to also work on the existing buildings. Now, back to this particular project. Here, the ECBC, as you know, the Energy Conservation Building Code, which has been developed in between Bureau of Energy Efficiency and the Ministry of Power. So this was basically developed on the concept of looking at high energy intensive buildings and how energy conservation can be carried out in those. Initially, and it has got varied adoption in various states. Initially, it was to do with only very high energy intensive building, but now it's been adopted for lower energy intensive buildings as well. So this is our project. I'll start talking about this. Now in this, basically, I hope everybody can see my mouse.
Yes, sir. It's visible. It's small, but
Okay.
visible. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, so this one basically, this is the site. So it's a rectangular site, but it wasn't north-south facing. So we actually made it face north-south, primarily because those are the orientations in which we get to control the sun better. On the north, we'll have the sun not going there most of the time. And on the south, the sun is pretty high. So therefore, it can be controlled through shading devices. The east and the west, basically, we were able to minimize to the minimum extent. Now, the east, basically, we had on the east side, the building is stepping towards the eastern side, basically, with the concept of developing over that side. The idea was that, especially for the morning sun, which is comfortable even in summers, and of course winter sun, these terraces would work as a great to-go place in this kind of a building. And normally, tall buildings don't have um, a space where you can go out. You need to leave the building to be able to go out into an open space, and there also you might not find the sun. So in this particular case, we've created terraces where at every level you're able to go out and enjoy the sun. Technically, these spaces or these terraces also work as fire refuge areas for all levels. And they also offer great views to the mountains from the upper stories. So primarily, if the building orientation is like this, then this is the north, that's the south, yeah, and that's the east and that's the west. On the top, you have an array, which is a solar covered array. Now, on the western side, primarily in the plan, we worked out service areas, staircases, and minimal fenestrations, minimum windows to make sure that that sun is totally cut off. Now, that's a 3D analysis of the same thing. Now, Panchkula, as some of you might be knowing, gets pretty hot in the summers and also pretty cold in the winters. Um, so, primarily the orientation, as we see, is north-south. This is the central entrance core, as we can see. And the entrance core works like this. And then on the right-hand side and the left-hand side, you have office spaces. This central core also promotes natural cross ventilation, which runs parallel to the Himalayas, creating passive cooling. The compact center also reduces the circulation area, which minimizes the building by almost 10%. And normally, when we're doing green buildings, it's also important to reduce waste areas because we build so much and sometimes 50% of that is waste. It's not effectively used. So therefore, that's also an aspect of green building. This is a picture which showcases the terraces. And here, the solar is actually raised. The solar is raised because it creates a shade for the terrace users. The lower terraces are for people to come out. The top terraces, where nobody goes, is filled with services, HUs, plants, and so on. So all of that takes up space over there. And that also gets the benefit of a solar cover on top because a shaded equipment is a more healthier, more efficient equipment. That's the picture from the top of the site. Now this is the west elevation, as we can see. So we have, as you can see, this is minimum fenestration. This is the south elevation, where you can see only just the right amount of openings have been placed so that you have an adequate number of glazing. So WWR of this, the window to wall ratio of this particular project would be about 25% at the max. And in this, we get very good daylighting. So this is the overall site plan where we enter, we drop off, and then we enter the basement, and then we exit the basement and come out. It's a simple plan. Now, although it's a 2 lakh square feet building, we made sure that the building is linear and is able to get good natural light percolating in from both sides. Besides that, we also have two cutouts. One is this and the other one is here to add to that daylight. This cutout, as you can see over here, that's a triple basement below. And then these cutouts above, we also add to the natural ventilation. As you can see, the windows are openable. That's very, very important. This building was actually built at the time of COVID. Initially, the clients wanted or were looking forward to clean glass facades, which sometimes means that you would just block off and just have glass, no openings. We insisted that you need to have openable openings. But during COVID, when this whole issue of fresh air came up, it was a great win, and they were happy that ultimately they had gone in and chosen openable windows. Together with the cutouts and the edges, we get very good daylighting. Then the interiors has been designed so that you would have low height partitions or glass partitions, making sure that the light distribution would be excellent for all. And then this is a bit about the ECBC analysis which was carried out, where the daylight illuminance was basically 66.2%, and the super ECBC recommendation is 60%. ECBC, as you're aware, has three levels: ECBC, ECBC Plus, and Super ECBC. So this is at the level of Super ECBC. Then these are various savings due to daylight controls, where at the edges you can have light switching off, and again electrical energy can be saved accordingly because the daylight is streaming in. Now these are the other floor plans to give you an idea. The second floor plan, the third floor plan, and you can see the building receding on the eastern side. Yeah. Now, then we have the envelope. Now, in this particular thing, how did we reach Super ECB specifications? One of the things was the envelope. We utilized a wall. It is called a 3D wall. Some people call it a trick wall, thermally reinforced insulated concrete, which has a thermocol core on one side, on the center, and then it has a wireframe basically crisscrossing it on both sides. Then you set up panels of these at the edges, one after the other, and after the panels are there, then you shoot concrete on that. You use shotcreting on it. So basically, you get a very highly insulated wall at the level of an R value of 3 um, in this particular building. Now, this is done only at the edges to make sure that the incoming loads are minimized. Together with that, the roof terraces, wherever they are, all the stepped terraces basically, they have XPS panels and are topped with reflective light colored tiles. And of course, the shaded ribbon windows, basically, as we see them, have insulated frames of UPVC and highly efficient double glazing, which helps to reduce the air conditioning loads by 60% overall. Now, this is further on the ECBC analysis, where from the base case to the proposed case, we get a reduction in energy of 47.4%, which again meets Super ECBC levels. And these are the charts basically talking about various aspects of that reduction. The energy efficiency ratio of the HVAC equipment instead of the base case of 3 is 5.77. And this I've already talked about. So we're having a high efficiency chiller, we're having demand control ventilation, we're having a BMS system, pre-cooling economizers within the air handling units. Then we are having operable windows for fresh air ingress, as I said before. And we also have a UVGA system for COVID oblique pathogen control. So this is one of the first buildings which got installed during COVID times, which included a UVGA system for decontaminating the air which is supplied to the inhabitants. Normally, it is used in operating theaters and all to make those places absolutely infection free. But this was the first office building to utilize this same thing. So that was about that project. Then, as a comparison, I wanted to show one more project, two more projects. One is the RBI building Dehradun, which has been made on the concept of building around courtyards, but with similar aspects of a cavity wall insulation and, of course, solar. This is the IGBC Platinum. The, the third building is Indra Paryavaran Bhavan, which is the first net zero, large scale net zero building in the country, which was made in 2014, which included a range of measures, including geothermal energy, a complete solar, and so on. This is the building, and here, I mean, the solar can also be called as a shade. These are the parameters which were being utilized, but now they are being surpassed. At that point of time, the ECBC 2007 was underway, and air conditioning load, we had brought it down from 150 square feet per ton to 350 square feet per ton. And now we are looking at 450 square feet per ton for various buildings. The lighting power density from 1.1 watts per square feet has been reduced to 0.5 and now is being reduced to 0.3. Electrical load from 10 to 4.3, going down to 3.5. So net zero design basically includes pushing at all levels of work, which starts from the essential orientation, limiting the WWR, which is the glass, limiting the glass, insulation on wall and roofs, extensive greenery, maximizing the daylight, lighting power density. So starting with the natural principles of building design and then going into technology like air conditioning, efficient AC. So the natural principles of building design still rule the roost. They come first. As we say, passive design principles first, active design principles later. And then finally, we brought it down to about 33% of the energy load, and we use SPVs for that. So if we compare the three buildings, we see that there are various values for carbon emission savings. What is important here is that in this, the IPB, it utilized a huge solar bank on the top, and it balances its consumption with the solar bank production. So it's only starting to target carbon neutrality. The kind of insulations which have been used are also different in each, as you can see. And the insulation, which is an important aspect of energy consumption in a building after the orientation, is also varied in various places. So just to give you an example, you can have a 4.5-inch wall, 4.5-inch wall, and you can have a center core with EPS. So this can be, this is basically a thing which gives you an R of 2.1. If you're building, let's say, in the village, and you can afford to do a thick wall like this, then a mud wall of 1 feet and a mud wall of 1 feet, another one, with a 50 mm gap can offer you the same resistance. In Indra Paryavaran Bhavan, we had um, a wall of 9 inches of insulation, AC wall, and along with that, we had together with that, we had additional insulation of rock wool. This is a booklet which we have created, which you can find on the CPWD website in CPWD publications, which allows some very easy methods of calculating the appropriate R value to match the ECBC recommendations. So it's a good hand use tool which we have showcased and promoted all over. This is my last slide. Basically, we have two kinds of buildings which are really coming up. If you see the picture on the left, this is a building actually from Oroville. And, these are our usual non-AC buildings, local offices, primary health centers, schools, which have a large overall footprint, but individual buildings are not very large. They have normally low embodied energy materials, little or no insulation, maybe a cavity, less glass. For these types of buildings, pairing renewable energy targets carbon neutrality more easily. So you can have renewable energy and paired with this, and you can target carbon neutrality. I was reading this article yesterday that the government, from a target of 100 gigawatts, was only able to match up almost 65 or 70 gigawatts. And in that, the major shortfall was rooftop solar. The large solar banks on the ground which have been created have been there, but architects, engineers haven't been able to integrate these on the buildings. I think that is what is important. Secondly, regarding the embedded energy of materials, because here, if you see this graph, I'll show this graph. This is the embedded energy of the building. This is on the x-axis. This is pan of once the building is being built, and as time passes, basically, we're talking about this particular blue line going a bit up. Why? Because the sorry, on the y-axis we have megajoules per meter square, which is the energy consumption of a building in megajoules per meter square. So we start with a value of about 2,500 in this kind of a building, and go up a little. Why? Because there is some maintenance happening, some changes in materials, and so on. As compared to that, the other is the operational energy. Operational energy in these kind of buildings is pretty low, but it gradually rises up and is able to cross the embedded energy only in about 9 years. As compared to that, we have the modern office towers, which are coming up, which are high energy. So they start with about 3,500, and with the maintenance, they go up higher. But look at the embedded energy. The embedded energy starts from low, but then it's zooming up. So therefore, in a modern AC buildings with high embodied energy materials, the operational energy is too high vis-a-vis the embedded energy. So therefore, high-grade insulation is required to minimize the operational energy. But if you can join the two approaches, which is reduce the consumption energy and also reduce the embedded energy, then that will give amazing benefits in mitigating carbon in an overall sense. And carbon includes both embedded energy and operational energy. Thank you so much. Thanks.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Architect Dipendra. It was a well-planned, well read out presentation and very well presented to us. Our next speaker for today is Mr. Sajjad Ahmed. Sajjad has got 23 years of professional experience in the IT industry, out of which 13 and a half years are with Capgemini. He was also involved with cloud infrastructure services and contributed to building capabilities in engagement management and technology space. He has spent a couple of years in Europe, Netherlands and UK, supporting large engagements. His interest in people and different cultures led him to pursue a master's in psychology and eventually a career change in human resources. Mr. Sajjad Ahmed, we welcome you to this presentation and take it forward from here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kamath, and I hope I am audible and visible.
Yes, sir, you are audible. Here, sir, just a minute. I would like to tell to the participant that post the presentation, the Q&A session will be there, and the questions which you are posting in the chat box will be answered. Yes, sir. Please continue. Thank you, sir.
Okay, sure. And I have a presentation as well. So please confirm if you're able to see the presentation as well.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, great. All right. So first of all, thank you for inviting me. And at this stage, I don't know the profile of our participants, but I'm assuming that whoever is on the call is interested in climate and the impact of it, carbon, and various things around the sustainability part, right? So I thought probably in this session, I will talk about certain ways through which we can bring awareness on climate change. Some of you might feel that we already know what is happening on climate change, and that is the reason why you are on this call in the first place. But my experience says something else. When I go to even the IIMs of the world and I talk to students about climate change, everybody has a superficial understanding of climate change and the impact of it on our lives or on our future, but very few are able to actually articulate what exactly is climate change. So we in our organization came across something that is heavily used in Europe, and the response has been very good. And instead of just doing it in our organization, I have also gone to institutes and have done it in my personal capacity. And I thought this is a good forum because all of you play in this area, and the tools that I'm going to share with you is available for you, and you can take help of this to bring in awareness. Okay, so climate change, as we know, talking about it with anybody is kind of very complex because, as I said, if you have fragmented knowledge about climate change, then it will be very difficult for you to follow what the other person is saying. And we all know that the impact of one activity will be a lot on something else that we can't touch and feel at this stage. It will take its own course and then the impact will be seen, right? And sometimes it's dividing because people who are, let's take an example of somebody who is in a real estate business and would like to kind of construct and that is their model. I mean, that is how they earn their bread and butter. But if an environmentalist comes and talks about it, then there might be a difference of opinion between the two parties, right? So sometimes it's dividing. And oftentimes it is boring because someone who has not studied the scientific parts of it might not be able to follow, right? So that is the problem statement when it comes to talking about the climate change. So there is a greater need for us to simplify this whole concept of how the climate change is happening. There is a need for us to bring everybody on the same page, and there is a greater need for us to make it interesting. So if you paid attention to my introduction, Mr. Kamath said I did my master's in psychology, and that was not when I was studying as a student, but after I joined the organization. And I realized as a part of my study is that all of us are different types of learners, right? Uh, some people just like to listen to something and then they will capture it. Some would like to see something on the screen, and some people actually want to do things with their hands. So all of us are different types of learners. So the answer to that question of how do we address different types of learner is in the form of this climate fresque. Now, climate everybody understands, but fresque probably you might have not heard, and don't go on Google trying to figure out what this fresque mean, but it's a French word. Basically, what I understood is it's kind of a wet wall where you can create anything. So in India, because not everybody speaks French, we can call it a collage. The translation of fresque can be a collage. And I think all of us know what a collage is. And the punchline for climate fresque is all the cards are in your hands. And if you are able to see my video, I will kind of just show you the cards that I have in my hands, right? So we are saying that everything that you need to know about climate fresque is in the cards. So basically, climate collage or climate fresque is nothing but a set of 42 cards that I was just showing you, and each set will have some cards in it. And I'll give you a quick sample of how the card looks like. So here are two cards from set one, and the front part of the card will have the title, which is human activities. And when somebody flips the card, they'll be able to read what exactly that title means. So this is where it all begins. And if you pay attention, I'm not showing you the second card, third card, because it is not in sequence. There are 42 cards, but there will be a number of the card, and there will be a title, and then there is a description. Similarly, we have it for fossil fuel. If somebody doesn't know what fossil fuel means, then this tells them what exactly fossil fuel is. So it's basically an explanation of the card that is being provided to the learner. Now here is an example of a set 2 card. We all know about deforestation. And how does the carbon gets concentrated with the picture with some description. Similarly, there will be card set 3 and 4, but I'm not showing everything here. But I just wanted to show you from first card till the 42nd card. In the fifth set, here decline in agricultural yield, because a lot of times many people focus only on the carbon part, but the impact of climate change is on the agricultural yield as well, because of the drought or famine, and all those impacts will be there because of climate change. And the 42nd card talks about not at just a regional level, but at a global level, how the circulation weakens in the ice sheets and the sea and all those things. So with this, probably you got a gist that this card game actually looks fun, but it comes with a lot of information. Now, where is that information coming from? That information is coming from the IPCC report. And I assume that those of you who are on the call probably know about IPCC. If not, you can go ahead and read about it. So it's an intergovernmental panel on climate change. And the person who started this in France actually read the IPCC report, and he formed this organization, Climate Fresque. And I will tell you their website in a moment from now. So they said that, okay, let's not create awareness by just talking about things as per our understanding, but let us look at what is the scientific world saying about climate change. And as you can see, I think 1988 is when it started, and their fifth assessment report was in 2020, 2014, 2018 came, and now the 2022 was due as well. I'm sure it is out. But as and when the scientists are figuring out the latest information about how the environment is changing or the regulations, the policies that the nations and the organizations are coming up with, is that having any impact? And what is it that the future looks like? All of that will be taken into consideration. And these cards, the 42 cards that I was talking about, gets updated periodically. So I started bringing awareness with people using this set of cards in 2022. But in 2023, I re-downloaded the new set of cards, and just a week before, I received an email that the new set of cards are available. So you see, a lot of times, even in our schools or colleges, we study something that has been like an outdated piece of knowledge. But because this topic is so serious that we can't leave it to chance, but our team is looking at the IPCC reports and updating the cards every year. Now, the benefits of Climate Fresk is it's a lot of fun. Let me tell you, this is not a classroom where there will be a facilitator or a trainer who will do a one-way download. The role of a facilitator is very, very minimum because the participants will drive the entire session. And I'll show you how that gets broken down in a moment. But let me just talk about some of the attributes or how Climate Fresk actually benefits. So it's fun. There will be a lot of interactions between people. There will be a lot of collaboration between the participants because they will use their collective intelligence, and there will be a team bonding exercise also that happens through this. It's very visual. Unlike when you are sitting in a training room and a slide has gone and the presenter has moved on and you can't recollect, it's not going to be the case here because there will be links that the learner will be able to follow. It's very creative. I have seen even college kids or adults when we do it in our organization because they will be using a lot of colors and color pencils and markers and sketch pencils, sketch pens. We have seen that their child comes about when they are kind of writing on the collage. And it's pretty simple. As I said, you don't need a lot of material. All you need is, if you're doing it in organization or a college, a projector and some table with a white sheet of paper on it, and these 42 cards that you can download from their website. Very simple, and it is scientific. You have seen that the IPCC report, that input will be taken to create these cards. Now, how do you build that fresk? Now, please remember, I said, if you don't know the meaning of fresk, just think as a collage. So the objective is you will decrypt and you will discuss. And the principles of this whole awareness module is there will be 5 rounds and 5 different set of cards, as you have seen an example, that will be given to the participants. On one table, probably there will be 8 people or 10 people, and the cards will have the link between themselves. So if you remember, I said human activities, and then it was fossil fuels, right? So we are the ones who are building, we are the ones who do agriculture, we are the ones who are taking the products that the industries are producing, right? So the participants have to start establishing links. Which came first? And what is the cause and effect of that? The third bullet, as you can see per table, the participants will look at what is the cause and effect link of the cards, and then they will start placing the cards next to each other. And after each round, the facilitator who is with the learners will come and debrief about what exactly that set of cards will talk about. And here is an example of a final product. As you can see, it's not just one relationship, but there could be multiple relationship of one of the costs, right? The steps of the workshop are pretty simple. It's total close to 3 hours or 3.5 hours of workshop. This can be done online as well, but in my experience, I have realized that when you do it offline is far more fun and far more engaging. So the first 1.5 hours, you will kind of discover the relationships through the card sets, 5 sets of cards. Then 20 minutes you will take to kind of create, which is you express. I mean, there will be certain cards that you will figure out that you didn't know that could be an impact of climate change. So you will be given an opportunity to write something next to that card or draw something, whatever your feelings are after you have gone through the entire cause and effect relationship of those cards. And 10 minutes will be about sharing and anchoring the knowledge. You will share it with your respective groups. And the 60 minutes will be more about what is it that you would like to do. And one of the thing about this whole awareness module is not just gaining knowledge, but after gaining knowledge in your personal capacity, what is it that you would like to do? And just to give you an example, the facilitator will give you a 2x2, a high impact and a low impact, easy to do, hard to do. So in your personal capacity, what is it that is very easy for you to do, which will have a lesser impact, or something which is very difficult for you to do and will have a high impact? So the participants will go and write there. So it is like a personal action they will take after finishing the session, right? Now, as I promised you that I will show you where you can go ahead and look for more details on Climate Fresk. So it is available in English as well. This is how it looks, the homepage. If you want to take part in any Climate Fresk that is happening in your city, though this whole mission started in France, and up until last year, the mission was to reach 1 million participants, which we have achieved. And now our new target is to reach to 10 million people worldwide. And in different countries, this is being done in different languages. So you can simply go and you can click on take part in a workshop, search basis the city that you are a part of. In India itself, there are close to 100 facilitators like me who will be putting up wherever we are doing the fresk or climate collage. You can take part. If you want to become a facilitator, you are interested in imparting knowledge to people around this, you can click on become a facilitator. And like any other facilitator journey, this also starts off with a certain belts like white belt and orange belt, blue belt, that kind of stuff. You have to do a certain number of sessions in order to reach those milestones. If you want to do a dedicated workshop for your organization, you can click on that. There might be questions in your mind like, okay, is there a fee for this? So a topic like this, some might argue that it should be absolutely free because you are calling people to take action for something as serious as climate change. However, the organization also need to kind of go at scale across the world. So if you're doing this workshop in an education setting, a college or a school or for kids, then there is no fee. But if you're doing it for a commercial establishment, then there is a very nominal fee. All those details are available here. If you become a facilitator and you want to charge for your facilitation as well, you can charge a small amount of fee for your facilitation and take a participant fee and then give it back to the Climate Fresk organization. So if you go on this website, you will know everything about Climate Fresk and what you can do. And this is my final thought. I know that there are a lot of people who have said that they have questions. So final thought is every action matters. because whatever we are doing as a consumer or as a buyer will have an impact somewhere. And every bit of warming matters. I mean, we know about that 1.5 degrees Celsius, but every bit matters and every year matters. As you might have seen, year on year, we can actually feel the temperature change, and every choice matters. So the choice that all of you have after going through this session on how you can bring awareness is, first, take part as a learner in any session that is happening in your city. And second is become a facilitator and then pay it forward. And before I kind of draw this to a close, I just want to share something about an incident that has happened. So I went to a college, which was an MBA college in Hyderabad. And I was doing this session, and the person who was coordinating came to kind of usher me into the institute. And I was driving a SUV, and I came for a session on climate change. And just imagine what this person might have thought, that now you're talking about climate change and sustainability, but at the same time, you are driving a car which is a guzzler, which takes a lot of fossil fuel in the form of petrol and all that. So before that person could say something, I admitted to that person saying that there are certain choices that we all have. I mean, our families will kind of want to do certain things and we'll have to support them. But the choice that I'm making is, while I might be doing certain things which is going completely against adding to the climate change, but by doing these sessions, I am reaching out to hundreds of people. And out of those 100, even if 5 people make certain choices of not buying a SUV, right, would add up to the overall objective of what we want to do. So choice is yours. And I hope that all of you will invest in bringing awareness besides your respective roles that you're doing in the sustainability space. Thank you. And that is the last slide I had.
Thanks, Mr. Sajjad Ahmad. Climate Fresk is about promoting, prompting participants to take constructive action to help tackle climate change. So with this, I hand over the mic to Mr. Anish to open up the floor for question and answers.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Let's have some Q&A. There are a lot of participants, those who are asking questions. The first question is for Mr. Deependra. So it is from Mr. Gyanendra, Dr. Gyanendra. So he was asking, can you please tell me the scope of carbon emission in these cases?
Okay. Dr. Gyanendra, broadly, when you're talking about climate change, then the kind of measures that we talk about against that is either adaptation or mitigation. So mitigation is when we're trying to do things which kind of reduce climate change, and adaptation is when we're trying to cope up with the changes and so on. So green buildings, or buildings which work with the climate, they are more of an adaptation measure. Now within this, when we're talking about carbon emissions, then we're saying that the building will result in carbon emissions because of its operation, because it is consuming a certain amount of electrical energy. Secondly, the energy which is required in making the materials. Let's say, for example, if you have a brick, then you bake the brick and you put it in a furnace basically, and you use coal to kind of cake it. Then it would require much higher embedded energy. As compared to that, another block like the AAC block, the aerated autoclave concrete block, has a much lower embedded energy in that. Similarly, another block called the Falgi block, fly ash lime gypsum block, has a much lower embedded energy in that. So the energy which has gone into making the building needs to be reduced. And of course, the consumption part also needs to be reduced. Together, it adds up to what we call as the reduced energy consumption. And based on that reduced energy consumption, we can calculate, it's a direct conversion, we can calculate the carbon. It's a direct conversion, but it also varies in various countries. So in India, it'll be different because in India, the energy intensity will be different. In let's say a place like Scandinavia and all, where they already have very highly evolved economies, their energy intensity is much lower. So because of that, we are able to calculate the tons of carbon.
Thank you. Thank you, Dipendraji. One question I would like to ask from Mr. Sajjad. Is it like, a person should have some willingness to change the lifestyle to contribute in mitigating the climate change? Like, is it how, what kind of environment impact and how he is supposed to take this step forward in a daily life?
Okay, good question, Anish. So I can relate an incident and I'll answer that with an example. So when we talk about motivation, right? When I was doing one of the session with an IIM, and there is a card, if I remember very well, card number 40, which talks about armed conflict. So the effect of whatever is happening around the world, that card says that the nations might get into an armed conflict because the resources will be very less in future. That motivated the person because that person never thought that because of the resources, the countries will come at war with each other. And the person took an oath that he is not going to buy a lot of things from Amazon because he used to kind of order things left, right, center every day. At least one Amazon parcel used to come to his place. So when I asked him what is it that he is going to do, he said, I will relook at my buying habits and buy only things which are needed. Right. So the motivation, I think, will come if people are aware. Today, as I said, when you reached out to me, I thought this topic is relevant for this group, is probably in their circles as well. A lot of people are not very serious about this topic. So for them to get motivated and be in a part of an environment where these discussions are happening so that they take certain action, the first step is awareness.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sajjad. There is one more question for Mr. Dipendra, that are there any metros, ECBC standards are there? The metro.
I'm not sure of any, standards for ECBC. I mean, for metros, I think IGBC had come out with certain standards to rate the metro buildings, but nothing to do with ECBC. ECBC is a more generalized standard which deals with the electrical energy consumption. So even existing standards which they have, they can be utilized in the same. Yeah. And I mean, ECBC is not trying to target a certain type of building. It's a more generalized standard.
Okay, that question was from Mr. Karthi, and from Mr. Vijay Kumar Nagaraju is asking how we can achieve net zero as a project where optimization of embodied carbon is quite challenging with additional cost implications. Sorry.
Okay. So, Mr. Vijay, so let me clarify. When you're talking about net zero, so net zero is not zero carbon or carbon neutral as we call it. Net zero is simply looking at the consumption of a building and balancing it with renewable energy, solar or whatever. So if you have adequate, rooftop area, if you have deep pockets, then you can do it. The real goal, and there are not a lot of net zero buildings which are coming up now, and absolutely, it is credible work, no doubt about that. But now, as a society, we have to start looking at the overall embedded energy of the building, the processing energy of the materials, because the construction boom in India is underway. And the next 20 years, we're going to be building double, triple of what we have right now. Our built environment will go double, triple. So that will be consisting initially of all the embedded energy of the building. And if you can have low energy materials, research in that, alternatives being tried out, um, regulation to support them, then that is a big area. And that needs to be targeted. So what I was saying was, so net zero is only kind of balancing with the renewable energy. And when you're talking about carbon neutral, building, then that would be something which would be talking about holistically about both embedded energy and operational energy.
Thank you. Is there any more questions? I think Mr. Vamsi Akuraj, he's asking, are there any signs of regulations on embodied carbon emission of building in India? Like, are there any developers in India? Something like that. Yeah.
No, I didn't understand.
Any signs of regulations of embodied carbon emission of buildings in India? Any kind of rating?
Embodied carbon data, using any embodied energy reduction data. Well, I don't think I haven't come across anything like that. There was some initial research which was carried out by a professor at Indian Institute of Science in Bangalore, where they carried out some of this research in this area and developed the broad embedded energy profile of small buildings, large buildings, which led me to that last slide. The one which showed the embedded energy of the building in megajoules per meter square. So there was some work which had been done. You could Google that and it will come up certainly. But after that, any kind of a compilation like that, I would not know whether such a compilation is there. Regarding your query also about R values, R values, there is R values are resistance value. R is basically, for the uninitiated, it is the air-to-air thermal resistance from the outside to the inside. And you want to increase that value. The more R there is, the better the building is in managing the climate. The inside climate remains more comfortable. So, the R value comparison, there is a very good compilation. I showed you one particular slide which showed the various R values of various roofing systems. So there is a booklet called Integrated Green Design. If you Google it, sorry. If you Google it, or if you look at CPWD publications list, then you will find that is a publication that we have done, in which we have laid out the various methods of looking at green buildings in a very simple manner, which everybody can do, where it is not within the domain of specialized architects and engineers, but anybody can do in a very simple manner, and you can make maximum effect. We have been utilizing that booklet also to spread the word all over India by doing a range of workshops. We've done almost 100 workshops now in CPWD, PWDs, Lucknow Development Authorities, MES, police housing corporations, various construction agencies which are there. So we've done varied ones basically all over. And that talks about the primary aspects of achieving a green building. Now, within that, there is a methodology, a very simple methodology given for calculating R values for achieving ECBC compliance. So you can just quickly have a look at that. I think it will come on Google also, integrated green design. It's on the CPWD list of publications as well.
Okay. There is one question for Mr. Sajjad. What is your opinion that could be done at the community level to increase awareness and action on a climate change?
Yeah, so I mean, at a community now, I don't know when we say community, is it the apartment community or the community that you are a part of? But I think this can be done anywhere. So far, what I have been doing is I have been going to the educational institutes because my approach was that for things like these, the future leaders, because the assumption is people who are going to IIMs would be the future leaders. They will be in decision-making authorities. So if they are kind of made aware at this stage, then it will stay with them until they reach that stage, right? So that was my approach. But there have been a lot of conversations with people who are really serious about sustainability that they would like to do this for their apartment buildings, because in apartments also they see a lot of wastage or people are not aware of how their actions are going to impact in the long run. And this can be done for that community as well. And I was talking to somebody who comes from a particular religious community, and she said that we have a very strong community where there is a board also, and we meet once in a while, and we want to do things for the betterment of our community. And she wanted to invite me to take this session for her community. So like that, absolutely, any community, this is open and can be implemented.
Thank you. There is one last question for, I think Mr. Dipendra would like to answer. Will breathable material which can meet a strength of cement can replace the cement to achieve the goal net zero by 2070? So you are on mute. Mr. Dipendra, you are on mute. Mr. Dipendra, I think you are on mute. You are on mute.
Yeah. Sorry. I got the question.
Yes.
So the question is, will breathable materials which can meet a strength of cement can replace cement to achieve a net zero till 2070? If yes, then I have made research on it, have a product which will be patentable. Okay, so I think this is not a question. This is a certain technology which they have come out with, and it'll be great if they can share with all the participants. That'll be very nice.
Okay, I think so we have come to day end for day 2. It's over to you, sir. Mr. Bharat Kamath, Chairman IGBC Goa chapter. Sir, you're on mute.
Thanks, Architect Dipendra. Thanks, Mr. Sajjad Ahmad. We have come to the end of our second day of the Harit Bharat program. And dear friends, I invite you all to be a part of the historic journey of green built environment. Please join IGBC and IGBC's green building movement. Reach out to your local chapters and make the change what you want to see. On this note, I once again thank you all for joining us today and see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all, sir. Thank you all participants. Thank you, Mr. Dipendra.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Dipendra ji. Thank you, Sajjad ji. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Bharat ji. Thank you.